الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله ذي الملك والملكوت ذي العزة والجبروت. الحمد لله حي قيوم لا ينام، عزيز لا يضام، قهار لا يرام. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. يقول الباري سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and die not except in the state of Islam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, bestow upon us the greatest of the gift, to die on the state of Islam. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alamin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, relating in many of the surah and many of the ayat, the attitude and the way of the disbeliever, the ungratefuls. And the ungrateful, the way they live their life, they live their life without aim, without a purpose, disconnected from the true, ultimate truth, disconnected from their Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this ayah in Surah Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said after أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: إن والذين كفروا يتمتعون ويأكلون كما تأكل الأنعام والنار مثوى لهم. And those disbelievers and grateful, they are entertaining, enjoying themselves, and they are eating like the cattle do. And their abode will be hellfire, wal-'iyadhu billah. Because they truly disconnected themselves from the ultimate truth, from the reality, from what is going to happen. And someone living on the path of falsehood, and the falsehood things that you invest in that will never come to happen. And the truth is what you trust, and you're certain that it's going to happen, and it does. Therefore, the ungrateful, those who turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they didn't have any purpose, true purpose of life. And the purpose becomes completely something related to the material world, to the physical world. Everything becomes materialistic. And if I borrow some of the terminology of some of the philosophers or sociologists from the Western, thoughts, it's just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran: وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا. And witness have witnessed, in the favor of Yusuf alayhi salam, and he was from her family, to do justice. And we take in the same, let's say, line and spirit, to see how the sociologists, they have in a way described the society and the reality that we live in, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described it in the eloquent way in the Quran. They're entertaining themselves, they're enjoying themselves, and they're eating like the gazing livestock eating. This is their purpose, this is all what they do. As a matter of fact, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the guidance for the livestock to live the way they live, but the human being has been given much more that they denied, that they subhanAllah turn away from it to reduce themselves to one dimension human being, where they only live into the materialistic world, and only their dreams is related to the materialistic world. So in this terminology that we're borrowing, they say this reality is assimilated as an iron cage, and you can look at it on the internet and you see. So the iron cage is what defines the society that we live in. Why is it an iron cage? Because everything it has pre-ordered, preset by a system, that when someone is born in this place, in this society, they do the same thing. They follow the same pattern, the same way of life. Studying, have a job, and looking for a great life. Studying, have a job, and looking for a great life. The dream is to have great, living. The dream is to be better than the other. So it's all materialistic. And this is an iron cage. So once someone is born in it, he will not think to change it. Why? Because he set his mind to be thinking, or to continue, or to strive getting to their dreams that has been preset to them, preordained, dictated on them by the society. So, subhanAllah, if you see the iron cage, this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us in the Quran. As a matter of fact, another sociologist from the same school, they say it is more like, let's say, the life, the general life, or the life that comes, the public life is being colonized. And I'm reporting what they're saying. It's been colonized. And this colonization made all the system, made all this, subhanAllah, the system to be ruled by this materialistic, let's say, or when I say materialistic, nothing have to do with the moral, nothing have to do with the akhlaq, nothing have to do with the hereafter, not have to do with the dimension that we believe in, that exists beyond this world, this physical world. So I say this is the colonization of the life world, which is being colonization by what? By two things, by power and money. So the power and money, those who are dictating everything, and those who are defining the akhlaq. Though there is one of the characteristic that we need to understand here, because this is very important for us. Why is it important? Because living in this world, we're being influenced by this world. We're being bugged by this world. Our way of thinking is being influenced, maybe metamorphosed by this way of this world thinks. So therefore, we might have, subhanAllah, crookedness in our belief that we are not aware about. We live in this world, especially for our youth, for our next generation. For those, subhanAllah, who's born in this iron cage, they will only breathe the way how these people breathe in this iron cage. They will think, they will have the dreams. Their motivation is all based on this iron cage that everyone is living in. And again, I'm borrowing this term from the sociologists. And it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَتَمَتَّعُونَ, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it for us in a dimension that you look like in exhaustive, comprehensive, from now to the eternity. Now, one of the characteristics of this iron cage of the society, of the ideology that has been dictated, all like ruling the world and ruling this society, is they make separation between the intellect and the akhlaq and the moral. So the intellect, subhanAllah, the reason becomes like more instrumental reason. You find them so skilled, so very skilled to process data, to do whatever subhanAllah, they want to achieve in the materialistic world, but incapable to build a good relationship, incapable to take care of the children, incapable to have a good household. Why? Because the human being has been in detachment, in estrangement of his own self. And his own self, when we mean, subhanAllah, there is no that value of dignity, there is no value of honor, there's no value of who is the human being, to think beyond the materialistic world, think beyond achievement of how can we do a product that looks good and with the most cost effective. This is the instrumental reason. You don't make like the critical reason in a way to help people to grow, to help things that you use or to invent or to produce to help the good condition of the people, and not good condition in their materialistic way, but in good condition the way they feel and the way they emotionally, or the way of their relationship. None of the things, subhanAllah, that this system offers. For this reason, dear brother, respected sister, many people, they have a very limited vision. When they look all that the mental, issue that we have in the society is because of this system. Because people they didn't have before this. Why? Because they are being integrated, fully completed with their essence, with their who they are as a human being. The akhlaq, the moral, is defined, subhanAllah, by the law. So the law would define what is good when it's bad. So when you are following the law, you are a good person, you are a righteous person. When, subhanAllah, you violate the law, you are a bad person. So someone committing zina is not something bad because it's not against the law, so it's accepted. Then it's good, then you are a righteous person. So you see, subhanAllah, this separation between the intellect, the mind, where to think, where to invest the thinking, and between the life world which is colonized by the money and the power, as we have said, and then the akhlaq which has been dictated or, subhanAllah, defined by these laws made by the human being. Then add to it the absolute relativism that people, subhanAllah, we live by today. Everyone's opinion is right. That's what it leads to inclusiveness, that it leads to equality, because without this relativism, you cannot have equality. So a person, when he has the opinion to do whatever they want, to change themselves in a structure that does not look like a human being, that's their opinion, that they're right. And you have to accept that they're right, and this right, and this just. Therefore, with this absolute relativism, what it happens, subhanAllah, there is no difference anymore between good and evil. So good equal to evil. And then justice equal to injustice. So when a political party sees something is just, the other one sees it is unjust. And they see exactly what these people advocating for it to be justice, they see it like the mere oppression and mere injustice. Therefore, we do not have any standard reference, any moral standard to refer to, and then subhanAllah, the collapse of the whole society. As a Muslim living into this society, embracing this ideology without knowing, because everyone looking forward for the next device to get, and this is the dreams even for the youngest, the new show that is going to happen. So it's all materialistic, it's all entertaining. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يَتَمَتَّعُونَ, they enjoy it, they're entertaining themselves. You have two categories of people that come among the Muslims, which is actually a category that is most of the people who adhere to a certain faith, they live that by. So we have people, they have double life. And double life is normal, becomes normal. A life which is the life for the public life, that they go to work, they live their life, subhanAllah, they speak how the other people speak, they speak in the way to be pleased by the other people. So many things that they say, many invitations that they accepted, all of it, subhanAllah, comes by violating the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then they come to the masjid, they come to their prayer. In their prayer, that subhanAllah, to fulfill that need that the soul had toward the unseen. But that ibadah, subhanAllah, becomes fully dissociated from the life of the public life. Then we have like dual life, a life where a person thinks that he's a believer and righteous and everything, and the other life which is fully in parallel. SubhanAllah, they adhere to every way, the way they advocate, the way they talk, the way they invest, the way they do, the way, and then when it comes to the ibadah, they said, this is, it's haram. No, it's haram. Look, everybody is doing it. So everybody's doing it becomes the new evidence to justify what people they do in this dear life. These people are mustada'afin. People, when they come to the day of judgment or at the time of death, they're going to be like, they said, we've been oppressed in the land. We didn't have any power over the system. That's fine. You didn't have any power over the system. But why did you live this life? Therefore, these people, subhanAllah, who live this dual life, they're not true believers. Because they embrace the system and being influenced by the system. Unfortunately, or like sadly, it's not because they chose it, because they've been born in it. And that's the problem. But being born in it, they think that they are guided, and they're not guided. وَيَحْسَبُونَهُمْ قَالَ قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ. They lost their ways in this dunya. وَيَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ subhanallah yuhsinuna sunnah, and they think they're doing good. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the hypocrite, they truly think they are corrected. They told them, do not corrupt on the earth. They said, no, we are good people, we are corrected, we are people who do reform. Said, no, you are the one who corruptors, but you do not perceive it, you do not feel it. And that's the problem here, that we have things that we do not feel. We don't know that is wrong, but we think, subhanAllah, we still think that is good. And that's the problem here. These people, when the angel come to take their life, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah An-Nisa, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَوَفَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ ظَالِمِ أَنفُسِهِمْ, when they come to take their soul, while they wronged themselves, they said, what was the matter with you? Why did you do this? They said, we've been oppressed in the land, we didn't have any control, we've been influenced. He said, but the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not vast for you to run away with your deen, with your integrity, with who you are as a true human being. No, it's not going to work. So subhanAllah, these people, Allah told us that they're going to be in hellfire. Why? Because they have been applying the same system, they were enjoying themselves, and they were eating like the cattle they do. Why? Because the system of the guys who helped them to elevate themselves, who helped them to look at the vast horizon of the universe and to be connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they didn't exist. What they have done, their ibadah, that their worship that they do, actually they submitted to their public life. They want to work, they come into Qiyamul Layl to make, Ya Allah, give me this beautiful work. As soon as they get this beautiful work, they forget about Qiyamul Layl. They forget about the dua. They forget even by coming to the masjid. So it becomes like a materialistic worship as they live a materialistic life, as they have a materialistic dream. However, the other believers who truly they live by Allah, seeking the pleasure of Allah, they are also oppressed in the land. But these people, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, He said, those who've been oppressed in the land, Allah want to confer for them the favor. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَمُنَّ عَلَيْهِ وَيَجْعَلْهُمْ, and He make them the inheritors of the earth. Why? Because those are the only candidate who will be helping the humankind to free themselves from this iron cage. Get free and set themselves free from this colonization of power and money. I'm saying these two words, if you look at the internet, they are from German sociologists or philosophers, defining the society that we live in. Rib'i ibn Amr, one of the great companions, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim, he said a definition how you can truly free yourself. The definition, when he met with the commander or the general of the Persian, his name Rustam, he told him, why did you come to us? قالوا نحن قوم ابتعثنا الله سبحانه. We have been people who sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, following the guidance of his Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. لنخرج العبادة من عبادة العباد إلى عبادة الله. To bring out people, to take out people from the worship of people like them to the worship of the God of the people. To take out people, bring them from the darkness and injustice of the religion to the justice of Islam. To take out people from the tightness and the anguish caused by the tightness of thinking in this closed world to the vastness and the joy and the sakina that Islam will give when you live into the vastness of this universe in this dunya and the hereafter. For this reason, the hadith of At-Tirmidhi, the Prophet ﷺ said, قَالَ مَنْ كَانَ هَمُّهُ الْآخِرَةِ, whose concern, whose eagerness, whose all thoughts is about hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put righteousness, contentment in his heart. جَعَلَ اللَّهُ غِنَاهُ فِي قَلْبِهِ. He become rich. Rich not because money, not materialistic, spiritual rich. Contentment. He's subhanAllah happy with what they have. And that is a true king person and a queen to have such a thing in their heart. قَالَ وَجَمَعَ اللَّهُ شَمْلَهُ. And he make all his concern one concern, not like always busy. If you think and you take a paper, say, why I'm busy? I'm thinking I'm busy. You go to write him in the paper and you find like everything is futile. But when you hem in the akhirah, subhanAllah, everything you have a focus, you have one goal. So everything comes one compact goal that helps you to be focused and have firmness in your path. قَالَ وَجَاءَتْهُ الدُّنْيَا رَاغِمًا. And this worldly life come kneeling to them, kneeling to one who has righteousness in their heart. This dunya, this worldly life come to kneel with you. And when it comes to kneel to you, as a believer, you don't even pay attention to it because your relation is with the Most High. However, the one he's all concerned, all worrying is about with this worldly life. And this is again the hadith. قَالَ وَمَنْ كَانَ هَمُّهُ الدُّنْيَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ فَقْرَهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. Allah make the poverty to follow them, and he will see it all the time between his two eyes. Wherever he turned, he have billions of dollars, always he's being chased by poverty. He's scared, insecure, subhanAllah, always depressed, anxious. Why? Because he's feeling poverty despite the fact he has millions. And if this million, if he's in subhanAllah, as some people they say, if they spend $100,000 every day, they will live more than 100 years or 200 years and still they will have still money. But these people are still scared and fearing the poverty. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, قَالَ شَتَّتَ لَهُ الْأَمْرُ. Then every time he's busy, his heart, subhanAllah, is divided. He's thinking of everything in the same time, which has caused them anxiety and caused them all the trouble, of the soul and the psychology. And then, قَالَ وَلَا يُؤْتِهِ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَا كُتِبَ لَهُ. And he only gave from the dunya what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for him. So all the problem that this person is doing for himself, and getting to that point, subhanAllah, of anguish, of distress, and he only gonna get from the dunya that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for him. Therefore, the idea here, as we are into the society, in this world, governed, dominated by this ideology, how can we free ourselves from this iron cage? It's very simple to make all your thoughts is about your akhirah, your ultimate goal. Because today, the way of the commodification of everything it becomes like a commodity. And this commodity becomes, subhanAllah, has certain kind of sense of magic. People, when they touch a new phone, they feel so good. They feel, subhanAllah, so excited. They feel like elevated. They feel like someone important. Anyone who wears like a shirt with a brand name with his peer, it likes the new color and the new brand and the new model. He feel like above them. SubhanAllah, that touch of magic in the commodity that the materialistic world instill in it, it becomes the new God for the people. So you see, many of us already worshipping other than Allah, but they do not know, because instead of getting that security, that SubhanAllah, pride, that honor from a relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are taking it from commodities. The way, dear brother, respected sister, as I have said, this is very important for us. Many people, they might not perceive it, but if you think about it, and I invite everyone to ponder, even in your details of your life, you'll see that we are doing a lot of things that is far from Allah or taking us distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To have your concern, to have your worry to be the hereafter, we have to remove the locks in our hearts. Al-aqfal. These locks in our heart, we are building this lock. We are putting these locks. This dreams that we have that not related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a lock. The wishes that we have that is very materialistic is a lock. Does not mean that you should not have dreams in this dunya. Have them under the umbrella of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleasure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you barakah in it. Someone want to be an engineer, someone want to be a doctor. We have a new way of look to show how the influence of the society on our kids. People, they want to be influencers today. The most ignorant people on planet Earth. And they subhanAllah making money. So it's not about knowledge, it's about the decency, it's about making money. So people, they want to be influencers. It becomes a dream, can you imagine? So this is having subhanAllah such a dream for our kids or for our new generation. We have to be concerned. We have a problem. We have a big problem. Therefore, these locks that we are building for ourselves is because we're embracing this reality without being aware that it's killing us from inside. What is the path? What is the path? How? The path, dear brother, respected sister, is as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها. Do not they ponder in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or these hearts have locks on top of it, being locked. So we have to remove the locks. You have to look at the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anything, if you define what is a lock into the heart, I'm going to tell you a dream. No, it's not a dream. There is many things. So anything that becomes an obstacle between you and the Quran, for the Quran to define your dreams, for Quran to be the base of your understanding, for the Quran to be the base of your motivation, for the Quran to be your guide, then you have lock into your heart. Then when we look at the Quran, and we say, subhanAllah, I have to reflect on the book of the Quran. And the reflection, not like we're talking about scholars, no, reflect, read into your native language, into the language, and you're going to understand the Quran. It's not a question that we have to make tafsir, to ponder. And the pondering and the reflecting of the Quran is an obligation of every believer. Unlike the memorization. Memorization is not an obligation. It's only obligatory of every one of us to know some of the Quran will enable them to pray. But the pondering of the Quran is an obligation. كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. The reason for we have sent this good book filled with the blessing so they can ponder on its ayat. So the ponderation is an obligation. And the pondering of the Quran that is going to elevate you, that's going to help you break the chain of this iron cage. Why? Because this iron cage makes you one dimension to only think materialistic. When subhanAllah you connect your mind, your reasoning and your akhlaq, the standard of morality, then you regain that part of you as a human that has been honored, as a human that has dignity, as a human they stand for justice, as a human they will be mad against oppression, as a human they advocate in the way of the justice, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They think big. And then when you look at the Quran, subhanAllah, the first thing that is pondering of the Quran, without the pondering of the Quran, you will not be able to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran is the words of Allah, and it has one of the attributes of Allah. And in the Quran is manifested the names of Allah and the attribute of Allah. How do you know that Allah is the all-wise? You see it in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the creator, is in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all-knowing, is in the Quran. You read Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He is subhanahu wa ta'ala the greatest, and us with the insignificant, in this insignificant planet Earth, Allah, the King of the Kings, is talking to you. So the worst of the sin ever is to turn away from the Quran when it is the greatest gift in the universe, and it is the soul of the universe and the cosmos. Is the Quran. Is the Quran. That's why it's an obligation. When Ja'far Sadiq was asked, he said, we've been making dua and no answer is coming. He said, because you are calling the one that you do not know. People, they're calling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's like they're calling subhanAllah, making like subhanAllah, it's like going to have a game or to have subhanAllah, what they call it, a lottery. Ya Allah, give me this because of this. But as soon as he's been given, he'll turn away. There is no connection. قال لأنكم تدعون من لا تعرفون. You are calling the one that you do not know. And the only way to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through the Quran. That's why if you do not have this ability to ponder on the Quran, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're going to have always bad assumption about Allah. And it comes to the day of judgment, those assumptions that are going to cast someone in hellfire. قال وذلكم ظنكم الذي ظننتم بربكم أرداكم فأصبحتم من الخاسرين. This is the way how you assumed Allah should be doing with you. You assumed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He was not good enough with you. You assume that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He should have answered you for this job. You assume Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He should have give you this. And subhanAllah, without knowing Allah. That's why when you're making dua, you do not know who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For this reason, the only way to know Allah is through the Quran. And when you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you elevate yourself, you connect, then you know who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other aspect in the Quran, you know yourself because the Quran is the mirror of the truth. When you look at the Quran, you look at the truth. Then when you look at the Quran, not like you look at the mirror in yourself, you say you look safe, mashallah, you look kind, you look nice. People, they say, always you look nice. This is how define who you are. No, who we are what Allah said in the Quran. You are a weak person. You are ignorant person. You are a person that you hasten, ajula, dhaluma, transgressor, wronger himself. This is what Allah said about us in the Quran. خلق الإنسان ضعيفا وكان الإنسان أكثر شيئا عجلا إن الإنسان كان ظلوما جهولا. A transgressor, someone who corrupted, someone who is ignorant, and he is poor all time in need. Then when you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that generous, He tell you Kareem, the one who is the wadud, loving kind. Can you imagine wadud? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want to come to you so you will love Him by giving you all this favor. This is, dear brother, respected sister, this is the way how when you know yourself, you'll be able to know Allah. And when you know Allah, that's where you bring tranquility in your heart. Only by pondering in the Quran. In the Quran, you look at how comprehensive and exhaustive is the time. People, they live this life. This is only our life. We live, we born and people, they die. And nothing will kill us or destroy us except the time, the passage of the time. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the perspective that you live in eternity still in this life. There is this life, and in parallel there is another life which is the akhirah. And between them there is the barzakh or the death. That's the vessel, or subhanAllah, the transition to the next life. And when you read the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not make separation between. Look, for example, in Surah Al-Zukhruf, that the one who being deluded by his shaitan, قال حتى إذا جاءنا, when it comes to us in the day of judgment, he said, I wish I have a distance between me and you, like the distance between the east and the west. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathered you in one ayah, a life in this world and the life in the next world. So as a believer, you live, subhanAllah, the absolute time. You do not live this limited time in this earth. قُلْ أَوْنَبِّئُكُمْ بِخَيْرٍ. Should I tell you what is best than all of these people are accumulated? For the pious people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared this garden and so on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you. When it comes, subhanAllah, for the zalimeen, قال, do you think that Allah is unaware of what the transgressors are doing? No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not. He's delaying them to a day. Where is this day? It's in the akhirah. So the Quran gives you a dimension of time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. He gives you subhanAllah a dimension of a day equal to 1,000 years. A day equal of ascension of the angel of 50,000 years. So it's like subhanAllah, as with this very little brain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for it as to have this comprehensiveness of time that you live from now to eternity. And this is the Quran. That's how you liberate yourself. You subhanAllah liberate yourself from the magnetic field of this materialistic world to become someone free, connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other aspect that we can remind you and myself with it is the aspect when you look at the Quran, subhanAllah, there's the thing that helps you to have tranquility, to have, firmness in your heart. It's there. It's a medication. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَالَ مَوْعِظَةٌ, reminder, and healing for is in this chest. If you want truly, get to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything has that is going to provide you or confer joyful life is in the book of Allah. So why you don't read the Quran? Why? Why are you, subhanAllah, hating yourself? Are you working against yourself to not read this great gift that Allah ever existed on the universe, which is represent the soul of the whole cosmos? And the last thing, subhanAllah, the last thing, as this reminder to free yourself, to liberate yourself from this iron cage, is to look what is success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala define for you what should be your dream. In the ayah, subhanAllah, قَالَ وَكَانَ ذَلِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Be admitted in paradise and forgive their sins. That for Allah, in the sight of Allah, the greatest of the success, the greatest of the felicity. So Allah, your Lord, your Creator, telling you, this is the greatest of the success, and you still, subhanAllah, busy with the dunya, busy by accumulating the dunya, when that is going to be your khasara, that's where you're going to be a loser there. The dunya is only a trial for you. قال وكان ذلك عند الله فوزا عظيما له مقاليد السماوات والأرض والذين كفروا بآيات الله أولئك. He has Allah the keys of the heaven and the earth, and whoever who deny and turn away from his book and for his guidance, those are the true losers. When Abu Dharr radiallahu ta'ala anhu came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Ya Rasulullah, give me advice. He said, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, give me more, Ya Rasulullah. قال عليك بتلاوة القرآن وذكر الله فإنه نور لك في الأرض وذكر لك في السماء. He said, then after that, recite the Quran and remember Allah. Indeed, the citation of the Quran and the remembrance of Allah, it is a remembering to you in the heaven and a light to you on earth. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى أما بعد. The influence of the ideology that we dominating the society we live in and the world that we are in. And you can see it today with what's happening in Gaza. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them and shower them with His mercy and pour on them patience. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma najjihim mimma hum fi. You can see, subhanAllah, how things has been disclosed, that all what they are claiming is false. Because when things comes to the reality, it's not Quran. It's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to be fulfilled as it has been said. That is what is called falsehood. Because when you claim something and you define it as being your principle and you go against it, then those principles are a falsehood, are not reality, are not the truth. Therefore, the believer, you don't know how much you have been influenced, but you know that you have the book that it will save you. The book that gives you the vision of the meaning of life, the meaning of the universe, the meaning of who you are, the meaning of the one who created you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the way how you elevate yourself and you raise yourself to be connected with Allah, to be by Allah and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the Zuhad, he been asked, he have heard that there is someone who does not sleep. So he went to him and to ask him, he said, don't you sleep? He said, no. He said, why? قال منعتني عجائب القرآن أنا. What held me back, what prevented me to sleep is the wonderful thing in the Quran. Every time I read something, I see some wonderful thing I cannot see. منعتني عجائب القرآن. So you see, subhanAllah, our hearts very far are rooted from these wonders of the Quran. But the step when you have a sincere intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. And here we are welcoming the best of the months. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, قال قد جاءكم رمضان. Here Ramadan is coming. شهر المبارك, a blessed month. افترض الله عليكم صيام. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obligated upon you is fasting. In Ramadan, all the gates of paradise are open, meaning that all the goodness that you seek in is in your hand, is at the outreach of your hand. And all the gates of hellfire are locked, which is mean every evil that will be tormenting you, it will be diminishing and reducing in Ramadan if it's not far from you, inshallah will be. قال وصفدت الشياطين. And those shayateen and devils that are around, subhanAllah, cunning and plotting and scheming, they are all locked. قال وفيه ليلة هي خير من ألف شهر. And in it one night greater than 1,000 months. Whoever will be deprived from the goodness of this night, he's the one who deprived one. He's the one who worked against himself and herself. For this reason, the Prophet ﷺ said, Ameen to hadith of Jibreel. When Jibreel alayhi salam said, قال, whoever who witnessed Ramadan and he came out of Ramadan without being forgiven, may Allah distance him from His mercy and cast him in hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ameen. And Jibreel told him, say Ameen. Because how come having such a gift to be forgiven, to be raised high, to be connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you neglect it? It's like, subhanAllah, being given you a new life. Imagine someone, subhanAllah, died, and they told him you're going to be from the people of hellfire. And then an angel come to you and said, here, this is a new, opportunity of life. get up and work. This is how is Ramadan. This is an opportunity for life for you to redeem all what you have done before. And it is the month of the Quran. So make your objective is to ponder on the book of Allah, to free yourself from the chain of this iron cage, to free yourself from the colonization of the life world that has been instilled on all of us, to be connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the best thing that you can offer to yourself. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lead us to His mercy and to His ridwan, and know that the greatest of the success, when Allah is pleased with you, قَالَ وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. And the ridwan from Allah is the greatest, and that is the ultimate felicity and the ultimate success. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يثبتنا على الصراط المستقيم. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يغفر لنا ذنوبنا أجمعين. اللهم حبب لنا القرآن، اللهم حبب لنا القرآن، اللهم حببنا تلاوة القرآن، وحلمنا تدبرنا في القرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا ونور أبصارنا وذهاب غمومنا وجلاء أحزاننا وقائدنا وسالكنا إلى جنات النعيم. اللهم يا رب العالمين ويا رب المستضعفين، اللهم ارحم إخواننا في غزة وفلسطين، اللهم ارحمهم برحمتك، اللهم احفظهم بحفظك، اللهم أيدهم بنصرك، اللهم أطعمهم وأسقهم وآوهم، اللهم ارفع عنهم الغم ونفس عنهم الهم، اللهم أفرغ عليهم صبرا وثبت أقدامهم وانصرهم على الظالمين المعتدين، إنك على كل شيء قدير وبالإجابة جدير، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأقم الصلاة يرحمكم الله.